Hello and welcome to Oh, the Things I've Seen. This is Skyrim Anniversary Edition. And welcome back to episode 2. In this episode we're going to do a few things that I left off from the last time. There's going to be a couple of little changes. For one, the videos I'm going to be uploading to YouTube from now on are going to be a little bit shorter than the first video. 55 minutes is just a little bit too long in my mind, just for people to kind of view and enjoy. So I'm going to try and make my videos around 25 minutes to half an hour. Just kind of means I can create more and upload more, and people can kind of watch them as they like. So the first thing we're going to do to start off this episode is a little bit of smithing. So these items are usually items that you would be stealing, but because I spoke to the owner of the blacksmiths, they are no longer considered stealing. So for some reason the shield still is. So we're going to just basically make a little bit of armor for ourselves. One of the things I've decided to do with this character is I am going to concentrate on being a mage. So with that in mind, I will be putting on the novice robes that I picked up in the last episode, and I'm going to switch over to the iron boots, and actually, yeah, that's one thing, to actually put on this ring that I picked up in the last episode as well. So that's the first thing to do. So just to basically level up a little bit, I'm just going to do a little bit of smithing of these items. I'm going to create an iron dagger, and then some iron gauntlets as well. Yeah, I can create iron gauntlets, perfect. So then once I have those made, I will use the grindstone to make the iron dagger and the steel dagger a little bit better, which means I get more money for them when I sell them. And use this workbench here to do the same for the iron boots, iron gauntlets, and then I can upgrade one of these, so probably be worthwhile upgrading that so that it's worth more. But I will put on the iron gauntlet as well, just for a little bit of extra armor. But as I said, I am going to concentrate a little bit more on the magic side of things. It's something that I have used magic in the game before, but I haven't fully just like dedicated my character to using magic. So I've decided I'm going to concentrate on destruction for the start, just to use the spark. I'm going to concentrate on shock magic and ice damage. Ice magic, and just made that decision purely because the Anniversary Edition has added a few new magical spells to the game, so it'd be a bit of fun to try those out. If there are any weapons or anything like that, if anyone would like to see me go looking for any of the Creation Club weapons or anything like that, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be happy to show anybody anything that they want to see. But for the moment,
the sooner
I'm just
you find
going to
some may call this
get a
junk.
bit more gold.
Me, I call them treasures.
So we'll get rid of both of those, that, and the silver garnet ring, and I think that's everything we should get rid of for the moment.
All right then.
So yeah, we're gonna basically just concentrate on upping the magic of the character, and then concentrating on shock and frost. I tended to kind of go with the fire spells before when I was using a little bit of magic, but as I said before in the first video, I'm going to be kind of trying to do as many things in Skyrim that I haven't done before. Also, I just kind of thought that because my character is a Khajiit, the Khajiit might be afraid of fire, so kind of seems fitting with the character that they would not use that type of magic. We'll be doing a little bit of conjuration and also enchanting as well. Enchanting can get quite good, especially if you're having to use robes at the start of the game. Isn't ideal because their armor levels of the robe isn't as good, obviously, as a full set of armor. So when you get to the stage where you can actually put the same enchantments onto a full set of armor as you have on your robes, that's when kind of things get a bit more fun and combat becomes a little bit easier. Oh, I don't think I have I don't have the right mission on, so I should be putting that one on. So we're going to go to Bleak Falls Barrow and see what I can find there. It's the first of the several claw missions. Basically, you find several types of claw. I think I'm looking for the golden claw at the moment, but there's ruby, emerald, several different types of claw that you find, and they're all kind of linked to barrows near wherever you discover them. So I'm just going to see how close I can get here before I'm actually detected. This is three guys here. I'm not actually doing any damage there. Huh. He doesn't seem too bothered by the fact that I just tried to electrocute him, but that's not good. So let's take all his goodies. Anything worth? No, there's nothing worth much there, so.
Damn you! Gonna like an old woman's purse.
So just gonna back off a little bit and let my magic area regenerate. It does regenerate quite slowly, but finish this lady. So we'll take those. Like that. Doesn't good. There should be one more guy around here, or not. I could have swore there was a third enemy in this area. Maybe they're up top. My ring of sneaking might be. Oh, there he is. Actually, that's where I go. Let's go take all that stuff. I love the music in this game. I think for a short while I was playing with the music turned off and it just wasn't the same. Especially when you get into battle, the music when you're fighting someone is quite good. It also helps kind of, in the same way that Fallout kind of helps indicate whether or not you're safe or not safe. So the music will change when you're kind of in a battle situation and go back to this kind of nice peaceful music when you're not. Oh, but here we are, what I was talking about in the first episode. It's just a pity that it's so snowy here, but you can see the aurora borealis in the sky here. If I can get out of the... Yeah, it's just a bit snowy here, so hard to see, but yeah. Beautiful sky. So here we are in Bleak Falls Barrow. One of the more impressive of the barrows that you'll be going into when playing the or doing the claw missions. The rest of the barrows are kind of smaller dolmens for the most part. You'll see one when I get a bit further into the game, but
Thought I heard something.
this one here is kind of the game introducing you to some epic architecture in the game. Yeah, looking forward to the stage where I'm able to put a couple of stronger effects on my armor set. When you upgrade enchanting, you can have up to 8 different enchantments on your character. 2 per item of clothing, and that's not including the enchantment that's on your weapon. So, it's when you start getting to levels of overpowered, but it'll be a while before we get there. Just gonna wait for my magic to come back. This bandit's quite handy with the elbow and arrow, so that should be good. I don't get much distance on this sparks, but I suppose it encourages you, so you can get that cool finishing move. But yeah, kind of an impressive sight the first time you ever see it. Actually, that's one thing, if anybody's never played this game before and you're watching these videos, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are, and if you were considering playing Skyrim, please ask me any questions. I'd be happy to inform anybody if they have any questions about the game. If you are just starting out in the game and you're kind of using these videos as a guide or anything like that, let me know as well, because I'd be interested to hear if anybody has any things that they'd like me to do. Kind of a very interesting camera angle there. But yeah, if you're starting out, let me know what character you're playing as. What kind of builds did you decide on, or are you just starting out in the same way that most people do, just kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, or did you do a bit of research before you started the game and decided beforehand exactly what kind of character you were going to play as? But here we are at the entrance to the barrow, so we'll just have a quick check of this chest. And here we are. This is just a small kind of, well, when I say small, if anyone has played this game in VR, they'll tell you that the actual size of the interiors, you can't really get a full grasp on it until you've played it in VR. Playing on a flat screen just doesn't do it justice. Okay, so always check these burial urns. There's always something good in them, unless they're empty, which these ones are. And yeah, even the interior sound, like the sound of stones falling down and the wind kind of blowing through the halls is just, there's nothing like it. You really do feel like you're in this place. Like you can hear there rocks hitting off other rocks, or yeah, spooky. I believe this is where we have our first puzzle door as well, so that could be interesting. Oh yeah, speak of the devil. So let's see how this guy gets on. Not so good. So yeah, you can see these are where the darts get shot from if you try to open this door without doing the correct. Oh, we'll take a torch. Actually, I'll put that. Yeah, I just put that in. My favorites. Did I put them? Did I put my magic in the favorites? Yeah. So. It just means I can go. No, I just took that out. Perfect. So now I can just switch to the torch if needs be. I can put that in my left hand. So yeah, as you can see here, above, actually I'll just go up and show. Above the doorway you have these symbols. So the middle one is missing, but that's because it's actually down there. But yeah, you just basically, when you come to one of these doors, you just need to copy the symbols in the right order. So as you can see down here, they are not set to, it should be snake, snake, whale. So you just come over to these pillars and snake, snake, whale, and that's as easy as that. So yeah, not really the hardest of puzzles, but some people just don't look around themselves and see what's in front of them. So there we just picked up a scroll. So that's another thing that this game does. So say you decide that you don't want to use magic at all. You want to be a warrior who just swings a sword and uses a shield, but you find yourself in a situation where magic would be quite useful. You can use scrolls. So here we have a scroll of Firestorm. So you don't have to have magic to use these. They're just usable by any kind of build. So a 75-point fiery explosion centered on the caster does more damage to closer targets. So that means that anyone that is standing around you will be hit for 75 points of fire damage. Yeah, so it means the game is kind of giving you an out. It means you can you don't have to spend points on leveling up any magic at all, but you still have access to magic. You can find those scrolls. Tends to be in, like, you tend to buy them off mages or find them in dungeons and things like that. So here we are, we've got our first level up book. You can tell that generally by the value, so anything that's worth more than say 50 gold will be a book that gives you points in the subject that the book is about. So this book is called Thief, so it's going to give me increased pickpocketing. So we'll have a read of this. As I said, this is the Librarian walkthrough, so any books that I pick up. This also will give me the because I've read this book, it basically means that my character can now pickpocket. So Thief by Revan. If the reader has not yet had the pleasure of reading the first volume in the series on the life of Eslaf Errol, Beggar, he should close this book immediately, for I shan't recap. Maybe I should save this one then. No, I'll continue on. I will tell you this much, gentle reader. When we last saw Eslaf, he was a boy, an orphan, a failed beggar, running through the wild winter woods of Skyrim, away from his home of Erlgard. He continued running, stopping here and there for many more years until he was a young man. Eslaf discovered that among the ways of getting food, asking for it was the most troublesome. Far easier was finding it in the wilderness or taking it from unguarded market stalls. The only thing worse than begging to get food was begging for the opportunity to work for the money to buy it. That seemed needlessly complicated. No, as far as Eslaf was concerned, he was best off being a scavenger, a beggar, and a thief. He committed his first act of thievery shortly after leaving Erlgard, while in the southern woods of Tambarkar in the rugged land near Mount Jensen, just east of the village of Horbeld. Eslaf was starving, having not eaten anything but a rather scrawny raw squirrel in 4 days, and he smelled meat cooking, and then found the smoke. A band of minstrel bards was making camp. He watched them from the bushes as they cooked, and joked, and flirted, and sang. He could have asked them for some food, but so many others had refused him before. Instead, he rushed out, grabbed a piece of meat from the fire, and wincing from the burns, scrambled up the nearest tree to devour it, while the bards stood under him and laughed. "What is your next move, thief?" giggled a fair, red-headed woman who was covered with tattoos. "How do you intend to disappear without us catching and punishing you?" As the hunger subsided, Eslaf realized she was right. The only way to get out of the tree without falling in their midst was to take the branch down to where it hung over a creek. It was a drop off a cliff of about 50 feet. That seemed like the wisest strategy, so Eslaf began crawling in that direction. "You do know how to fall, boy," called out a young Khajiit, but a few years older than Eslaf, thin but muscular, graceful in his slightest movements. "If you don't, you should climb down here and take what's coming to you. It's idiotic to break your neck when we'd just give you some bruises and send you on your way." "Of course I know how to fall," Eslaf called back, but he didn't. He just thought the trick of falling was to have nothing underneath you and let nature take its course. But 50 feet up, when you're looking down, is enough to give anyone pause. "I'm sorry to doubt your abilities, Master Thief," said the Khajiit, grinning. Obviously you know how to fall. Or obviously you know to fall, feet first with your body, straight but loose to avoid cracking like an egg. It seems you are destined to escape us." Eslaf wisely followed the Khajiit's hints and leapt into the river, falling without much grace but without hurting himself. In the years that followed he had to make several more drops from even greater heights, usually after a theft, sometimes without water beneath him, and he improved the basic technique. When he arrived in the western town of Jalenheim on the morning of his 21st birthday, it didn't take him long to find out who was the richest person, most deserving of being burgled. An impregnable palace in a park near the centre of town was owned by a mysterious young man named Soybud. Eslaf wasted no time in finding the palace and watching it. A fortified palace, he had come to learn, was like a person, with quirks and habits beneath its hard shell. It was not an old place. Evidently whatever money this Soybud had come into was fairly recent. It was regularly patrolled by guards, implying that the rich man was fearful of being burgled, with good reason. The most distinctive feature of the palace was its tower, rising 100 feet above the stone walls, doubtless giving the occupant a good defensive view. Eslaf guessed that if Soybud was as paranoid as he guessed him to be, the tower would also provide a view of the palace storehouse. The rich man would want to keep an eye on his fortune. That meant that the loot couldn't be directly beneath the tower, but somewhere in the courtyard within the walls. The light in the tower shone all night long, so Eslaf boldly decided that the best time to burgle was by the light of day, when Soybud would be asleep. That would be the time the guards would least expect a thief to pounce. And so, when the noon sun was shining over the palace, Eslaf quickly scaled the wall near the front gate and waited, hidden in the crenellations. The interior courtyard was plain and desolate, with few places to hide, but he saw that there were 2 wells. One the guards used from time to time to draw up water and slake their thirst, but Eslaf noticed that guards would pass by the other well, never using it. He waited until the guards were distracted, just for a second, by the arrival of a merchant in a wagon, bearing goods for the palace. While they were searching his wagon, Eslaf leapt elegantly, feet first, from the wall into the well. It was not a particularly soft landing, for, as Eslaf had guessed, the well was not full of water, but gold. Still, he knew how to roll after a fall, and he didn't hurt himself. In the dank subterranean storehouse, he stuffed his pockets with gold, and was about to go to the door, which he assumed would lead to the tower, when he noticed a gem the size of an apple, worth more than all the gold that was left. Eslaf found room for it down his pants. The door did indeed lead to the tower, and Eslaf followed its curving stairwell up, walking quietly but quickly. At the top he found the master of the palace's private quarters, ornate and cold, with invaluable artwork and decorative swords and shields on the walls. Eslaf assumed the snoring lump under the sheets was Soybud, but he didn't investigate too closely. He crept to the windows and looked out. It was going to be a difficult fall, for certes. He needed to jump from the tower, past the wall, and hit the tree on the other side. The tree branches wouldn't hurt, but they would break his fall, and there was a pile of hay he had left under the tree to prevent further injury. Eslaf was about to leap when the occupant of the room woke up with a start, yelling, "My gem!" Eslaf and stared at him for a second wide-eyed. They looked alike, not surprising since they were brothers. Eslaf Errol's story is continued in the book Warrior. There's a bit of a couple of typos in that, but we won't complain too much. So that's one of the first books we will be reading in this playthrough. I hope you all enjoyed that. But we will continue on. I might just put my magic back on here. It's kind of bright, so there's no real need for the torch. We should be getting a few skeevers joining us in a second. Ah, good. I've contracted asphyxia. I'm gonna have to find a shrine to spray at sooner rather than later. Otherwise people will start asking me if I feel sick or not, which can be quite annoying. What was that? Scroll of Fireball again, and a weak paralysis poison. So, let's continue. Oh.
Is that you, Haknir? Bjorn? Soling?
Yes, Arvel the Swift. Arvel wasn't swift enough, as you will soon see. Boss battle of the game. Oh. So we will use the magic kit for leveling up, because you do get a full magic bar back. So here we are in the level up screen. You can level up either your magicka, health or stamina here. Obviously I'm going to go with magicka. But here is where you will be adding points to whatever you'd like to upgrade and make your character. So as I said, I'm going to be concentrating on destruction, so we will add novice destruction, which means the spells that I'll be casting will now cost half as much, so I should be able to use them for twice as long. Next level up will probably go for dual casting. This just turns the spell into a more powerful version of itself when you have the spell in both hands.
Get it away! Get it away! Keep
really worth searching any of those things, but always check the urns for gold and potions, things like that.
Don't leave me for Arcade's sake.
Sometimes they'll have jewellery in them as well, so always kind of worth
Get
checking.
me out of here.
Ah, I managed to
Help me. Help.
fall over a bone
Don't
and
leave me
hurt
for
myself.
Arcade's sake.
But this guy basically
Don't leave me
is...
for Arcade's sake. You, over here. You did it. You killed it. Now cut me down before anything else shows up.
yeah, he's not to be trusted.
Yes, the claw. I know how it works. The claw, the markings, the door in the Hall of Stories. I know how they all fit together. Help me down and I'll show you. You won't believe the power the Nords have hidden there.
So
Does it
I
look
was
like
gonna
I
hand
can
over the
move?
claw first.
You have to cut me down first.
So yeah, he is not to be trusted. If you do cut him out of the webs, he'll instantly run off and aggro a bunch of Draugr, so you are just better off killing him straight off. So here we have the Golden Claw. So we'll also take his journal, and there's nothing else really worth taking here, so here we are, Arbel's journal. My fingers are trembling. The Golden Claw is finally in my hands, and with it the power of the ancient Nordic heroes. That fool Lucien Valerius had no idea that his favourite store decoration was actually the key to Bleak Falls Barrow. Now I just need to get to the Hall of Stories and unlock the door. The legend says there is a test that the Nords put in place to keep the unworthy away, but that when you have the Golden Claw, the solution is in the palm of your hands. So we will find out just how literal that is later on. But as I said, I am going to try and keep these videos as short as I can. So we're going to finish up pretty soon. I just want to have a quick look in any of these urns, see if there's anything worth taking. But yeah, we'll leave it there before we go into the next area and continue on in the Bleak Falls Barrow. But as I said, if you do have any questions or comments or any missions you'd like to see or anything at all, please feel free to leave a comment. And yeah, so I'll see you all next time. Thank you all for joining me, and this is Oh, the Things I've Seen. Bye now.